Hello grade 8s, this is Mr. Miller and welcome to lesson 4.1 on representing percents. So first part here we're going to fill in the blanks. A percent means out of 100. To represent a percent you can shade squares on a 100 grid. And we'll be seeing those a little bit later in the lesson. Here's a 100 grid. Here's another one right beside it. You can see that some of them are partly shaded in, some of them are fully shaded in. We'll see how the shading goes in just a moment. Part C, to represent a percent greater than 100, you have to shade more than one grid. A percent that includes a portion of a percent, or in other words a fraction of a percent, is a fractional percent. So for instance, to represent 3/4 of a percent on 100 grid, you take one of the squares and you divide it into 4 sections and you shade in 3 of those 4. So now that we have those basics down, let's take a look at example number 2. One completely shaded grid represents 100%. So what percent does each diagram represent? Well, as you can see here in part A, we have 100 shaded in squares. So here we have 100%. Next to it we have some more shaded in. You can see that here we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So this is another 60. Plus then we have another 3 right here. So that makes a total of 163% for part A. In part B, you can see that it's only a part of one square that's filled in, and because it's a little bit hard to tell exactly how much of that is shaded in, what they've done is they've drawn a little arrow, they've enlarged that one square so that you can see all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts. And of the 8 parts, you can see that 7 out of 8 of them are shaded in. That means that this is 7/8 of a percent. Another one here in part C, you can see that we've got 10, 20, 30. So there we've got 30%. Then we've got another, let's see how many more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 7 full percent. And then we've got one extra little square that it's not completely shaded in. We've only got 1 out of 4 parts shaded in. So this being 1/4 of a percent, that's a total of 37.25%. Let's take a look at the next page. Example 3. Now we're going to do our own shading on grids to represent each percent. So I'm going to zoom in on each one to allow me to do a little bit more careful job of this. So let me start with the first one. I'd like to shade in 175%. So on the first 100 grid, I'm going to shade in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. So there we've got the first 100% done. The next 100 grid we've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and that would be 75 now. So now I have shaded in 100 plus 75%. Let's take a look at the next one. We'd like to do 43.5%. So, sure, we'll go 10, 20, 30, 40, and we've only got 43, and then another 0.5%. So it's pretty easy. And just try to do a little bit more careful job of that. So I can shade in halfway. If I really wanted to be careful about it, I could just draw a circle around it. Okay. Put a little arrow to the outside. Draw a nice big square here. Just move that over a little bit. Nice big square that I can cut exactly in two, and then I can very carefully shade in just half of it. And that's how I could do 43.5%. And the next one I want to do is 0.4%. And so this is less than 1%. It's not even quite 0.5%. It's a little bit tricky. But here's what I suggest we do. We're going to take this little corner piece here, and we're going to blow it up. Make a nice big square out of this one. Now, I can break this in two roughly equal parts, and I can break each one down a little bit more into 5 equal parts, so that now I'm going to have 10 equal parts, and these are going to be tenths. So when I shade in 4 out of 10, that's 4 tenths, which of course is a decimal, is 0.4. And so that's how you can do this one. So that's what it looks like when it's blown up. You try to do a nice careful job of this inside that little square, just to give a rough idea of what it looks like when you zoom out. And that's what it would look like. That's about 0.4%. Okay? So, we zoom back out. Take a look at, that's how we do number 3. So now we're going to shade in some grids, kind of a similar thing to what we were doing in number 3, but we're going to look at each statement and just take the percentage from that. The first one we want to look at: attendance at the science fair decreased by 5.4% last year. So I'm going to shade in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I have to do again 0.4. So let me zoom in on this to do a careful job of it. And so this last one, I'm going to shade in just 0.4 of it. It looks similar to what we did on the last one. Of course, if I want to do a careful job here, I'm going to circle this square. I'm going to draw a little arrow to the outside where I'm going to do a nice big square here, and I can do a more accurate representation of what 0.4 would look like. Of course, I'm breaking it into 10 equal parts, and I can shade 4 of them. Of course, 4 tenths, if you're looking at that as a fraction, you could say that's equal to 2 fifths, and you could just shade in 2 out of 5. But anyways, this is an easy way to represent 0.4. 4 out of 10, 4/10 of 1%, and that's the 0.4 part of 5.4%. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. The next one, we'd like to do 0.3% of Earth's fresh water is found in lakes and rivers. So 0.3 is going to be less than 1%. So I'm just going to circle this square and draw it enlarged here. And again, I'm going to break this up into 10 roughly equal parts. And in order to do 0.3, that would be 3/10. I'm going to shade in 1, 2, and 3. 3 out of 10 of these. So that is 0.3%. And again, I'm going to do what looks like here. Okay, so that's 0.3%. And the last one we've got here is the length of the St. Lawrence River is about 150% of the length of the Columbia River. So one more time, I'm going to zoom in so I can do a nice, careful job of this. Okay, so here I have my first 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100%. And then there's another 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. So that is it. That is 150%. Okay, so we've got number 4 done. And last thing here, let's just take a look at how many hundred grids you would need in each situation. If you're going to represent 235%, for the 200% of it, you'd need 2 grids. And then for the 35%, you need 1 more. And that makes a total of 3 grids for that one. For 789%, the 700%, you would need 7 full grids. And then for the 89% more, you would need 1 more grid. So that's a total of 8 grids. And finally, for 1,630%, you would need, for the 1,600%, that's 16 full grids. And for the 30%, you need 1 more. And so that's a total of 17 grids. So that's the end of the lesson. Grade 8 regular, you've got your assignment here, and honors, you've got your assignment there. And thanks for watching.